All right, NCFA fans, welcome to the 2022 National Championship preview show. Yes, folks, this is our grand finale of the season. Let's jump right into it. Of course, I am accompanied by the Director of Football Operations, Dave Mogensen, but for this special National Championship week, we're also joined by the head coaches of each team that will be representing the NCFA in the National Championship, Coach Kevin Adkins from Gordon State and Coach Grega from The Ohio State University. So what we're going to do with this episode is first kind of give you a recap of how the playoffs shook down. This was a one-day playoff. It was held at George Mason facility. This is the first time in NCFA history where these playoffs were done in one day at one location. We had Ohio State besting Mason. We had Gordon State besting Sacred Heart. Dave, what was your reaction to the playoffs, how it went down, and where we are today?
I think my biggest reaction was the scores. I mean, both games were won handily. I mean, they were both really over at halftime, where Ohio State and Gordon State both knew unless, they just packed up and went home, they were going to win those games. So, we kind of expected Ohio State, Mason, we thought Ohio State would probably win that game. Didn't expect it to be such a blowout. And, we picked Sacred Heart to win. We were wrong there. We thought they'd give them at least a back and forth game. And we thought the experience of Sacred Heart would maybe give them the victory in a close game. But Gordon State just came out and just pounded them right from the beginning. So I think we have two teams that are without a doubt. There was a lot of discussion. There's been a lot of discussion when you have a wild card. Would a Michigan State have played better? Would Columbus State have played better? Would Coppin State have played better? When any of these people played better in the game, I don't think it mattered after this weekend. We have the two best teams in the league playing in the championship game. At the end of the day, that's what your goal is, to get to this level and have the two best teams playing. And I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind that the two best teams in the league are playing this Saturday.
Right, and they say that the winners write the history books. So let's start with Coach Adkins from Gordon State. What was your kind of recap and takeaway from the playoffs? And then we'll get after that, we'll get Coach Grega's perspective.
First thing, Ohio State continued to come out on fire as they've been doing all season. So that wasn't a surprise at all. We expected them to win handily and win big. And for us, we expected the same thing when we seen Sacred Heart, and we have all the respect for them, but we feel like we're way more athletic and we're more physical. So we're having those things. We expected it to be dominant. And we actually show what we can do, and ultimately, so everybody can see what we got out of Gordon State. I think the biggest myth is people really don't know about us, and it was really good for us to kind of show the nation that we are a deserving team, and ultimately, we're one of the top two teams in the nation.
Yeah, no, first of all, we as the one seed, I think, anytime you're playing a true road game as the one seed, kind of tough to prepare for. Us going to Mason to play a true road game as the one seed, but I thought our kids prepared really well. And I expected us to win against George Mason, but I thought we played the most complete game we've played all year. I thought our kids were more than locked in. I think I noticed in pregame, we had the best pregame, just guys focused, locked in, prepared really well. And going into any kind of playoff game, you're not quite sure, what's going to happen until you get a good look in your kids' eyes and your players' eyes, and you see how locked in they are. And in pregame warmups, after pregame warmups, right before we ran out to start the game, I felt really confident because our kids were just ultra locked in. And then, we stuck around to watch the Gordon State Sacred Heart game. And I think, this is no disrespect to Greg Jones, who I've gotten to know over the years, but I think when we watched warmups, we kind of knew we were going to be playing Gordon State. I mean, they're just have great size up front, great speed, especially on the perimeter. Quarterback is really dynamic, Neil Howard. Running backs have incredible speed, once they get to the second level, there's no catching them. So, we just going through warmups, you could tell that the size and speed Gordon State has, that's who we were going to be playing. And, they showed it in their game. And, it's going to be a tremendous test for our guys. And I've been saying it all week to anybody who I've talked about the game to. I think, this will only be the second time I think we've played a South Atlantic team in our history. We played Columbus State in 2019 in the semifinals, and I think this will be a stronger test than that, and probably the biggest test that our program has ever seen in the 10 years we've been in the league.
I think it's a great point that you bring up of Mason being the number 4 seed, being the wild card, but being the only team of the 4 teams in the playoffs to actually have a home game in the playoffs. So it'd be nice to get their perspective. You go back to like Sun Tzu, The Art of War. You kind of know before the battle's fought, who's going to win, and you kind of look for those things before a football game is played. And it's funny how intuition can kind of notice the subtle details that kind of give you those notions about how the game's going to actually play out. But nonetheless, a great season for Sacred Heart. George Mason, unfortunately, they didn't get to continue, which ultimately brings us to Saturday. This is the national championship week. This is for all the marbles. This is for the trophy that you see here in the middle of the brackets. Ohio State knows what those look like. They have 2 of them. And I will also add to this that no team in NCFA history has ever won 3, let alone 3 in a row. I believe Compton State has 2, Oakland has 2, Ohio State has 2. So there's a little bit of motivation, I think, on Ohio State's side to try and get 3 in a three-peat. That's also unprecedented. A lot of teams have won back-to-back seasons. None have won 3 in a row. But if you'd like to walk us through maybe your preparation, again, we'll start with Coach Adkins and kind of how your team is preparing and maybe what it means to you to be here and what you're kind of doing to get ready for the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, tremendous accomplishment to the team and coaching staff just for getting to this point. As far as preparation wise, we just basically homed in on the fundamentals, getting back to the basics this time of year. We didn't put in a whole lot for us, what we do, but we did make a continuous effort to make sure that we get down and grown the home fundamentals, which is our basics. That's been our staple to win a lot of ball games. So, and then, keeping the guys grounded been the thing. We're a young team. We're full of freshmen and sophomores, and Ohio State got a lot of seniority on their team, and they know how to win games, and that's the biggest thing. So just keeping them grounded, level-headed, been really, really a task for me as a head coach to keep the guys in line, because they'll tend to lose focus as young players do, and that's been the biggest task for us. But overall preparation been good. I mean, we got one more day to kind of tune things up, and the guys are looking forward, and they're ready for the opportunity that have arisen, and looking forward to a great game, and a talented Ohio State team that definitely the toughest task we have all season. So.
Yeah, just to kind of echo what Coach said, I mean, it's going to be the toughest test we've had all year by far. I think. One thing I did want to add was going back to the semifinal really quick. George Mason, while we were playing a road game, I thought they were tremendous hosts. Their staff did an unbelievable job making sure that we were where we needed to be and helping us with anything we needed. So just wanted to shout out George Mason's, staff that they had on campus there. They were tremendous help and very accommodating. As far as this game, you mentioned, Nick, that we've won 2, but winning 2 doesn't affect anything of this game. And that's what we've been trying to preach to our kids is, yes, we've won the last 2, but just because we've won those 2, that's not going to help us at all in this game. It doesn't entitle us to anything. We still have to go out and we have to play 60 minutes against a really good football team. Like I've been telling our kids, the best team we've played in our 10-year history. This is going to be the biggest test that we've had. Definitely since I've been head coach, and I think dating back all the way back to 2012 when we first joined the league. I think it's going to be the biggest test. We know they've got a lot of size up front and a lot of speed on the edge. So we're gonna have to play our best. We're gonna have to make sure we're reading our keys. Everybody's in place, both sides of the football, and the biggest focus. I know Coach said the fundamentals, getting back to basics. The focus for us is making sure that like Coach said, we keep our heads, that we're locked into the game plan and that we're focused and we're not letting any of the outside noise get to us. We got to play 60 minutes. I don't want to say it's just another game because it's not. It's the national championship game, but the preparation has to remain the same, and the intensity level needs to be juiced up a little bit. You have to bring a little more energy into this one, just like you would like a rivalry game. This is, like you said, for all the marbles. It's for everything. And it's where you work to get to. But the preparation has to remain the same. You don't change any of that. You stick with what's worked for you all year. But the energy level, the intensity level, I think, and I hope continues to ramp up as we get ready for the game.
So I want to dial it back for a second, because there's a lot of other clubs that, dream about playing in this game, but what they might not think about with this is all the logistics. And your responses might help other clubs. So when they get to this point, it'll help them figure some of this out. But do you guys plan to stay the night before and the night after? Do you guys supply the meals, or do your players have to pay for their own meals? You guys doing like 10 p.m. bed checks and waking them up early? Like, what's your off the field game plan for this week?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the coffin there. So ultimately, we were lucky and able to find a way to fly in the day before. So, and ultimately we'll stay the day of the game as well. But yeah, 10 o'clock curfew, and ultimately we're responsible for supplying the guys meals. And guys gonna, especially on Saturday after the game, they'll deviate out and do whatever they want to do for us, buying meals. In addition to what we give them. But the biggest thing is making sure you got everything in place to make the game transition as smooth as possible, and to actually start with getting up on Friday. So.
Yeah, for us, obviously it's a little different. We're a little bit closer, and we don't get a whole lot of funding from the university. So, we'll be driving over Friday, early or late morning, early afternoon. It's about a 3.5 hour drive for us. So we'll be driving over to Waynesburg, staying in the hotel Friday night. We're lucky enough that one of the families of one of our players has offered to provide team meal for our kids after our walkthrough on Friday night, which we're very appreciative of. Being a club program that doesn't get a lot of funding, usually kids are on their own to provide those kinds of things, while their pay to play dues kind of cover the hotel and the travel and those sorts of things. But yeah, I think we have a 10 or 11 o'clock curfew on Friday night. Get up Saturday, play the game, and win or lose, we'll be driving back Saturday after the game again, since it's only about a 3.5 hour drive for us. So, in order to help other clubs, I mean, you do it financially as best for you and what you can afford, but also making sure that you're giving your kids the best experience possible.
Right. One of the 2 cents that I can attest to is after a big game like that, and you go back to the hotel, everybody wants to talk and hang out, or they want to party in one of the hotel rooms, and that leads to a lot of phone calls, noise complaints, and the hotel staff not being very happy with you. So one of the things that I usually recommend teams after a win especially is that they talk to the front desk and they ask if they can unlock one of their conference rooms on the side of the hotel where there aren't any people sleeping. Because sometimes they're cool enough to, they won't get noise complaints if they put you in one of those conference rooms, and they won't charge anything extra, but you can put your team in there to hang out and have fun and talk about the game and stuff like that without the noise complaints and without people knocking on each other's doors throughout the whole night. So that's one of the things I like to promote to people that are staying one or both nights, or for doing chalk talks. If you're staying in a hotel room, you need one of the conference rooms to do a chalk talk. You get the whole team in that room and you can discuss your game plan like while you're still at the hotel. So those are things that we've taken advantage of in the past if the hotel you're staying in is cool with it. Dave, I haven't called on you in the last couple of minutes. Have you been stewing with some comments? Let us have it.
It's not about me. I'm just a facilitator here. So I'm happy to have both coaches on to get their perspectives. And I think they're both very unique. It's interesting to see the different kind of logistics, from Gordon State and how they operate and how Ohio State operates. And obviously, Ohio State's not going to fly in when they're only 3 hours away of a drive. But I think it's really interesting to hear the different perspectives, and just gives you the full gamut of what NCFA is about. We don't have Division 3, Division 2, 1AA, Division 1. We just have everybody in one big league, and there's different levels of support from universities, and there's different levels of organization among the club leadership. So I think it's always awesome to see, a school like Gordon State doesn't have a varsity team, so they're, schools very much behind them, and in that aspect. Ohio State obviously has a varsity team, so they're kind of on their own, but they've become the standard bearer of the NCFA over the last 4 or 5 years. So it just shows that with any level of support from your university, with the right leadership, student leadership, you can have a lot of success. So I think it's a great building block for both kinds of teams that we get in the league.
Right. Another recommendation that I would strongly give to any team that's in the NCFA is to budget in the off season to go to the national championship. I'm not saying that every team should bet on themselves or whatever. I know every team does that already, but if you budget the money to go to the national championship, you book your hotels, you set that you're going. And even if you're not playing in that game, you are watching the most important game of that entire season. So whether you're in the bleachers or the sidelines, you're watching that game. And to see another team hoist that trophy should light a fire in any team sitting in those bleachers. And any team that's on the field, I'm sure would love the support of other NCFA teams in the bleachers. You usually get in these NCFA national championship games, the players' friends, the players' families. You're talking probably a couple hundred people from each side at least. Club football teams don't travel all that well. But if every single team in the league decided to budget and every single team committed to going to that national championship game, it's an experience. Whether you're watching it or playing it, it's an experience. And by seeing it firsthand, you'll want a piece of it the next year. And maybe that'll motivate your team again the next year. It might even help your recruiting, becoming a player on the club that gets you in a away game to the national championship, whether you're watching it or whether you're playing in it. It's just a great experience for everybody. And it's having seen some from the bleachers and having seen some from the sidelines, it's something that I highly recommend every single team does, because there's excellent value in it. And if you fundraise for it in the off season, you'll never have to worry about affording it when the time comes for actually playing in it. There's been a couple weeks. I want to talk about bumps and bruises, injuries, things like that. Have you got some blessings from the few weeks that you've had off and getting some of your players back on the sidelines, or has it just been coasting with good health?
Hey, I wish we can say that. Yeah, we've been able to get a couple people back over this last week or two due to having them get rest. But no, we tremendously bruised up and got nicks and knacks. It's been a long season, so we just trying to weather the storm on that piece. So yeah, we got a lot of guys that are banged up, and if the first game of the season, I would be concerned. But since it's the last one, we just got to find a way to muscle through. So, but yeah, we definitely got a lot of guys banged up.
Yeah, I think that goes for us as well. I think the big thing for us though is we've got a roster. I think our roster peaked this year at maybe 40 guys. So we're down probably in the mid to low 30s at this point in the season. We were able to get maybe one or two back from the semifinal that weren't able to play against George Mason. But we're kind of in the same boat that Coach Adkins is. You get to this time of year, you get into December. Any team that's still playing is going to be banged up, bumps and bruises, and you're kind of dipping into your depth a little bit. So it's just making sure that it's next man up. Those second and third stringers are ready to go and they're prepared, both physically and mentally, and they're locked in. And it's making sure that you have those guys ready to play and you put them in the best position to succeed. Because at this point of the year, whoever you're playing, once you get into week 10, 11, 12, you're going to have injuries, and your backups, your second and third stringers have to be mentally and physically ready to go. And that's on the coaches to make sure that they're prepared to do so.
Coach Greg, I wanted to ask, since you've been here before and you've said that winning too doesn't help you in terms of the team, but experience as a coach, I think, is especially valuable, especially to deal with the tone of the players, maybe your own personal adrenaline. But what moments of this game maybe from previous national championships, have you cherished most, or what moment are you looking forward to most, where you can actually settle down and say, okay, it's happening and everything's going to be okay?
I don't know how Coach Adkins feels, but usually I'm a nervous wreck until the ball is kicked. And then once the ball is kicked, you're in it. It's kind of like a player. As a player, you have the butterflies, and then you take that first hit, and then you're in it. And it's okay. It's time to go. That's kind of how I feel as a coach. It's just you've got so many question marks. Did I spend enough time in the game plan? Are the guys prepared? But then once that ball is kicked, none of that matters. You've got to be locked in. You've got to be focused up, and you've got to be ready to play. And so the lead up is ultimately just as important as the game, because you're making sure that your kids are in the right places and you're putting them in the best position to win. But I think the lead up is just as hard, if not harder, than the game, because the game, you've got to go out and execute it. And, if you don't have the right game plan if you didn't spend enough time on it, it's not going to matter regardless, if the other team is better prepared than you are. Obviously we've been here twice before, but as I said earlier, it doesn't entitle us to anything. We've got to come out. We've got to play our best 60 minutes of football that we've played all year in order to come out on top. The first time we played in this in 2019, obviously that's special. Your first time there, you're always going to remember it, the sights, the sounds. Last year, much more of a business trip. And that's how I kind of anticipate this one being just a business trip. We've got guys who have been there before. The sights and the sounds and the pageantry, everything that comes with the national championship are important. And I'm excited for, our first year players to experience that. But ultimately, when the ball is kicked, this is a business trip, and we've got to be locked in and prepared to play the game.
And Coach Adkins, I'm sure there's some experiences and lessons learned from the conference championship, but what's your mindset, and what calms you down? Like, is it in the locker room? Is it when that first kickoff goes? Like, how do you approach the game?
Yeah, I mean, very similar to Coach Grega. I've been at unease all week, so you always feel like, you're not preparing enough, or what could you done differently, but like you said, once you kick that ball off, then everything goes out the window. So at that point, you're in that fire. So you got to find a way to adjust, and you got to find a way to get your team motivated and to go to battle. So that's been the biggest thing, just feeling like, you're not doing enough, or you're not preparing enough, or, what did you miss? And, what can you do to, over prepare actually. So I'm always unease going into a game, no matter who we playing until kickoff.
Dave, I know that there's some very special things that the NCFA does, in addition to, of course, the national championship trophy presentation, that the NCFA does in order to make this game special for the players, be it program jumbotron. What are all the things that the league has in store for the game?
Yeah, we have a lot of things. Obviously, there's a trophy presentation to the champion. There's no second place trophy, so if you lose, you don't get anything. So that's a unique experience. The thing that I think is the best that we have going on is we do have this streaming with VSN's Varsity Sports Now. So we have Ryan Norris. We've always done a radio broadcast, but then in recent years we've done the actual stream. So that'll be cool. Ryan Norris will be up there. He actually has his brother doing color commentary. So we have the Norris brothers bringing you the game, which will be really great. And then in addition, Waynesburg has the awesome video board. So we're trying to put together some video highlights of some stuff. We have the game program. You'll have that. Just kind of find ways to elevate it. The pregame show might have some video clips from the streaming. So we're just trying to find different ways, as we have throughout this year. This podcast included some of the updated graphics to just try to get the name out of the quality of football that's being played at this level. I think often people that don't know, they'll look at this as, maybe a lower rung than even high school or its background football or whatever. And there is really, really good football being played. I think anybody who tunes into the game, if you go on the VSN website for the streaming, we're right on the homepage, and that's a national website. They have games all over the place. But right now, we're the featured game, national championship game. There's going to be people watching that have no idea anything about us, and they're going to be really surprised by the quality of football, especially the two teams that we're putting out there for this championship game. So any way we can additionally, even in the coming weeks, as we look back at the game and talk about it and highlights and the score and everything that went through it, whether it's on this podcast or on Sweet 301 or through whatever else we can accomplish to do it, is to get that out there. And I think people are going to be really surprised. And, kind of in awe at the quality of football that's going to be put on this weekend by these two teams.
Right. This is a college football national championship. It's not NCAA, it's not NAIA. This is college football. And I think that a lot of the teams that are in the league know of this league by who they play in their conference. And they know of what maybe the game culture is like based on their home and away games. This national championship is another level. Like the NCFA leadership will be there. They're like Dave said, they roll up the John Deere tractor with a big old trophy in the back, and they hand it to the club president of that football team. They distribute championship hats. It's special. There's confetti, it's like the end of a Super Bowl, where everybody's crying. Like, it's a moment that teams are going to want to see, and it's a special moment, and it tells fans or other teams, like, it shows how legitimate this league truly is. Having it streamed could help maybe get some new teams added to the league. It can help with your recruiting. But it is an awesome experience to watch. It's an awesome experience to be in. And I'm really anxious to see how it turns out on Saturday, because these are two great teams, probably, without a doubt, the two best teams in the league, hands down. This is kind of a very storied season for both of these teams, and I'm excited to see how it's going to play out. Dave, you have any closing thoughts?
Not necessarily. I think, for anybody's watching this I think will be released Thursday. So if you are anywhere close to be able to get to Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, and come watch this game, I would recommend doing it in person. But if you can't get there, understandable, get on the streaming, watch it. It's going to be an awesome game. I've been a part of numerous national championship games up with Norris in the box as a color guy, and I've watched Oakland win some. I've watched Sacred Heart win. Middle Georgia State. I've seen a lot of people come through and go, and I've never seen a game that really had this kind of magnitude of two teams that have just been playing outstanding football. I think the other one that sticks in my head is that Oakland Robert Morris rematch, which was a kind of a big deal at that moment. But these two teams are playing really awesome football, and I'm just a bystander watching it. I'll be standing on the sidelines, but I'm geeked and super excited. I'm not sleeping like you guys probably are, just to see you two guys play. So I think it's going to be a really exciting weekend and an awesome game.
Coach Adkins, any parting words before we conclude?
Hey, looking forward to it, man. We tried to get with Coach Greg about 2 years ago, and COVID hit. So long awaited time, and we got some tremendous tasks ahead of us, and got a great team in Ohio State, probably the best out there for as NCFA history. So looking forward to the game, looking forward to the atmosphere, and thank you guys for having me.
Coach Grega, parting words?
Yeah, same like Coach Adkins said, really excited. Like he said, this was a game we tried to get scheduled at the beginning of the 21 season. And like you said, COVID was still lingering at the time, and we weren't able to make it happen. So, we've had our eye on Gordon State since they joined the league, because, it was very evident from the jump that they were extremely talented, extremely well coached, and extremely capable of competing for championships, both the conference and national level. So, thanks for having us. We're very excited to be back, but we know we're in for a 60-minute ball game on Saturday. So we're looking forward to it. We're excited, and hopefully our kids are ready.
Best of luck to both teams traveling and playing the game. Best of health too to all the players recovering. I hope everybody can suit up if they can get healthy in time. And we're all looking forward to a great game. NCFA fans, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week with the NCFA National Championship recap. So again, to Dave's point, stream the game if you can, or attend the game in person if you can, and we will see you next week.